All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. My friend, Mr. Gibbo. How are
How
you
are you, mate?
today? I saw you're colder, I think, than I am. We're pretty close to zero here, but I'm dry. It looked like from what I saw earlier today, you were driving along and there was a lot of snow and ice on the roads and the ground. So is that so how's it going out there?
Yeah, mate. I was driving out towards sort of like Oxford way, and
Yeah.
but in all out in the country, and yeah, it'd been snowing, and then it had frozen over, so we had to have farmers come out and I, put grit all over the roads so people could get up and down, mate. Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be cold again tonight, but we're in the warm talking Spurs, aren't we, mate? So
Yeah, the
happy
only
days.
thing that I'm a little, as I sit here with a space heater next to me, thinking about the fact that I guess at 2 a.m. your time, no, yeah, 2 a.m. your time, I'll be stepping onto the pitch to play an adult league over 40 match, and it's going to be well below zero, and I'm not looking forward to it too much.
Gloves? You have gloves on?
Yes, I will not. I will not pretend that I'm some man from something else that I'm not. I will have a cap. I will have gloves, and I'll have multiple layers on. I can promise you that.
Good man. Good man.
So, hey, David, good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here. So, there are two of us here because, unfortunately, our we had a third, our friend Craig. Unfortunately, he's in Leicester suffering from floods, and his house, bottom of his house, is completely flooded out. So we debated for a little while, decide whether or not we were going to let him off the show or not, and ultimately I lost, and Gibbo said, "Yeah, you can skip the show."
Yeah, let him off.
And happy New Year to all of the Tottenham faithful out there, and it does require a lot of faith right now, I think, to be a Tottenham fan.
Ugh. Yeah, tell me about it.
Anyway, so it's good to have you. So it's just going to be a conversation, and we're going to be welcoming anyone who can join in. Most of you are probably watching this on a replay, but if you come in live during the show, please join the fun. Send us your questions, send us your comments. We'll get them up on the screen. So I think we can just jump in. What we're going to try and cover here tonight is we'll hit some of the highlights of the Newcastle game. We're certainly not going to break the game down. That's old news. But I think there's some reasonable good points to make that also help look forward a little bit. We'll talk about the new signing and some of the prospective signings that we're getting linked with. And then, of course, rotate into arguably the most important game so far this season, which is the semifinal in the Carabao Cup tomorrow night. All right. Sounds like a plan?
Yeah, so what are these highlights you want to talk about then, Jack, from the Newcastle game?
Well, I think the easiest one and probably most glaring one to start with is the controversy that was created early in the match when Spurs are up 1-0 and Burvell is trying to get the ball out, and Joe Linton just happens to be in the right place at the right time to deflect the ball with his hand over to Bruno, who passes it over to our friend Mr. Gordon, who buries it in the far corner. So it was not ruled a handball, and by rule, because it was judged to be unintentional, and that Joe Linton was not the goal scorer, it is a good goal. So that is actually, if you buy that it was unintentional, then it is not a goal. I mean, it is a good goal. Gibbo, from your perspective there in the Midlands, what is your thought on that?
I buy the fact that it was probably unintentional, but it's the rules, isn't it? They're a joke. I mean, like that is they'll say about it not leading to a goal, but it pretty much did. I know because a lot of our players push up and we play how we play, but that it led to their goal, didn't it? And but what can you do if that is the rule? I mean, I don't watch like Dermot Gallagher and all these other people that they have on Sky Sports and stuff like that. So is the rule something like if the hand is outside the silhouette of the body or something like that? Is that right?
I think the current phrase, again, I believe the current phrase is in an unnatural position. So his hand was judged to be in a natural position. It was down by his side, away from the body. I don't know, maybe the silhouette. I don't know how you define the silhouette, but
exactly, you can't, can you? Really?
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. So if you go back not that long ago, let's say a couple decades, the handball rule was 11 words.
Yeah.
It is now 170 words.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's interesting, and I hope people won't get too upset about this, but in American sports, one of the things that we found when they started introducing video review, it's pretty old here, particularly in American football and ice hockey, that the rule book was almost thrown away and rewritten from the ground up, because what they found is when you can slow things down frame by frame, all sorts of possible scenarios come into play, and they actually had to get more and more and more and more specific. With the handball rule, when it was only 11 words, it was pretty much left up to the interpretation of the referee, and they could use common sense and judgment. Now, what we've got is we're getting more and more and more words, but there's still a huge amount of gray areas. And this is my feeling is, when I was a referee, one of the things I was taught is judging whether or not it was a handball or not. This is going back, how old am I? This is going back 30, 35 years. The instructions I was told was, all these rules, but one other you would add to it is a significant advantage gained. So like if I'm an offensive player and I get tackled and the ball comes up and hits my arm and goes straight forward me, and I can still beat the man. Was it intentional? No. But did I gain a significant advantage from the hand?
The goal is
good. Yeah. And so I feel like when you're in a situation where the ball bounces off the hand of Joe Linton directly to an attacker who passes it to the man that scores, they've gained a huge advantage. And so I would be interested in seeing the rule refined a little bit to say in that situation, and because if it happened for Spurs, I wouldn't be aggrieved if the goal was called back, because I'm like, that's kind of ridiculous. You can't score with your ball. You can't play with the hand. So why can we pass it unintentionally to a player that scores?
You sort of just got to, rules. And I know, we foul of it again, but you sort of just got to, you shouldn't have to take it on the chin, but can you not remember? And I think it was against Newcastle this time. Eric Dyer went up.
It was Everton.
The ball came in the box. Was it Everton? Oh, I thought he did it against Newcastle. And
I could be wrong. I thought it was Everton.
Go ahead. He goes up. I think it's Newcastle, mate. Because I think it was Joe Linton involved in that as well.
Oh, really?
And I think like his arms went up, the ball went over him, and I think the ball sort of like hit him on the back of the arm there as he's gone down. They gave a penalty, but I think they changed the. I think they changed the rules the day after.
Actually, that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was the handball. That was the handball that actually changed it so that if it hit along the sleeve, it was no longer a handball. But at the time, it was judged to be a handball, and that was also similar to obviously the infamous Sissoko handball in Madrid.
And Arsenal have just gone 2-0 down, by the way, in the semi-final.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got home from work and booted up, so I wasn't able to. I haven't even pulled it up.
Gordon's just scored a second. Yeah, wow. but by letter of the law, whatever.
It is what it is, and it's a goal, and we lost the game.
And we lost the game, yeah. But it's the rules that are shit, aren't they? But we're talking about rules and decisions far too often again, aren't we? Because I mean, that one, I'd say that one, when you look at it and you can say by letter of the law, and if, you can be as picky as you want. But like you said earlier, Jack, coming on to the Dan Burn, the second.
Yeah, Dan Burn, that's the one I can live with the first one. That's the one that burns me up specifically, because there is no question. There is zero doubt in my mind, and I would think almost any Spurs fan and any Neutrals fan, that he would have received a yellow had he not been on a yellow. And we see this all of the time. Referees without any courage, because they think stuff, I don't want to affect the game. I don't want to create the outcome. Well, I'm sorry, you're the official. And you have to make these decisions. If it's a yellow card, it's a yellow card. And one of the problems that they run into is they give yellow cards out like candy these days. And so they put them in the situation when they need a card, they can't use it because they realize they don't want to throw the player out for this particular offense. And it drives me crazy. It's the same thing where fouls are judged differently in the run of play than it is in the box.
And too often, I mean, Basuma got booked after 15 seconds against Man City. I couldn't believe that, because how often do we watch games now? And you're watching a game and it's like, you see so many fouls go in, and obviously because we're probably watching Spurs games, and you look at it from sometimes look at it more. Some people more than others look at it through rose-tinted spectacles, but like, and you see these fouls and they're being let go, and then all of a sudden it gets to 20 minutes, your player makes a tackle or a foul, and they get a yellow card for it, and you're like, it's as if the ref's going, I don't want to book anyone yet. I don't. I've got a 20-minute all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It just drives me mad, mate. But yeah, I'm why that Dan Burn one's a joke. That is a joke. That is really is.
Yeah, and both Burn and Joelinton on another day with a different ref against another team, maybe they're both sent off.
Oh,
I mean, the hit that Joelinton takes on Porro, he lines him up, deliberately takes him out thigh high.
Yeah.
For me, that's a sending off. Makes no attempt. It's kind of like, I don't know if you watched the Liverpool game yesterday. I'm sorry, the Sunday game where Nunez just lined De Ligt up.
Yeah.
Not 5 minutes after he gets in the game and just shoulder into the center of the chest. Sorry, that's a sending off. You're done.
But I didn't watch it all properly, but in the Wolves game, I can't remember if it was on the telly and I heard him, it was in the background or on the radio. But I think Out-Nori for Wolves, because they were going, that's a penalty. They're going to look at that. That's definite penalty. And then they won't give it. It wasn't given. I think it might have been on the radio when I took them.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, we could spend the next. How long do you have until you need to go to sleep?
Officiating it just drives you mad now, doesn't it? Like, and I know it's bad when it's against your team, but I watch so many other games now, and I just think this is terrible.
And I will tell you that again, this may be heresy, and only an American get away with saying this. But let me just tell you something. I've done the job. It's not an easy job.
No,
and they're making ridiculous mistakes, but it's not an easy job. But the thing that just still amazes me is, if you look at ice hockey, you could put an ice hockey rink in half a football pitch. There's 4 officials on skates.
Yeah.
Okay? You go to an American football game that's 100 by 50 yards.
Yeah.
There's 7 plus video review. Baseball, where there's not that much action, 4 officials. Basketball, a court that's 90 feet long, has got 2 officials with whistles. I mean, the ground that an official in a football match is supposed to cover, the single center official it's insane. And I'm not saying it's never going to change, but you're always going to have problems officiating because it's already an impossible job to some extent. And then you get what clearly seem to be people with questionable judgment doing the job. And
I mean, it's like we've got VAR; it's here to stay.
Yeah,
and it just ruins some of it. Yeah. But should we just be using it for offside? Just so many things. But I mean, the officiating was poor against us on Saturday, and I don't usually blame referees. I'm quite harsh. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Yeah. People say certain things. The officiating was bad. I mean, we lost, and that's the end of it for me. I'm quite brutal like that. At the end of the day, the 90 minutes comes. Look in the paper the next day, mate. Look at the scores. Look at the internet. Look at whatever you want.
Yep,
we've lost, and we can have the chat about it and we can debate about it. Should we? But nothing is ever going to change. I mean,
it is what it is. It is what it is. So I want your thoughts on a few players in the match, and then we'll move on to transfer news. So we've got an interesting situation. I thought was Madison, who's suspended for the game tomorrow night, still didn't start.
Yeah,
is that a big statement, or do you think that was just he was wanting to he'd been sick? He wanted him to be fresh to come in the second half like he did, or do you think that's something that is still showing that Madison has a lot of work to do to get be a regular starter?
Well, you can look at it a few ways, can't you? I mean, we had to have. I'm not saying Bergvall isn't a defensive player, is he? But you've sort of got. At the minute, if you're picking Kulusevski or Madison in that role, you're picking Kulusevski at the minute, aren't you?
Yep.
I mean, I would have liked to have seen Kulusevski out wide and like Johnson not play. But Kulusevski probably over Maddison is a bit more robust, isn't he? And Newcastle are very
very strong,
up
big,
and at
big, powerful
strong.
midfield.
So he's probably gone for strength in there. But Maddison is a strange one. Sometimes I think to myself, are they protecting him because of fitness? Sometimes I think, is it just because, Ange doesn't see him as being, being in the team as much as Kulusevski, because he'd rather just play him there and thicken it up a bit. I genuinely don't know. But it's a strange one with him, isn't it? What do you think?
I mean, going into the match, I expected him to be in the starting lineup because we're so depleted. And he's not eligible for the game on Wednesday. So I'm like, I had him in my starting lineup. I didn't even question it just because of availability. I mean, if he's well enough to go to the darts and he's well enough to play against Newcastle. I mean, so I figured, hey, let's go ahead and I just penciled him in, and I did have Kulusevski either being rested for Wednesday or playing on the right. I just wasn't sure which would happen. I was surprised. I think him. You can't really afford to, but at some point, you worry about him breaking down. But I think that it's clearly a big statement in my mind, but I could be 100% wrong. But I read it as he's just not into the manager's automatic starter list. So, and that leads to the fact that Berval did get the start in midfield, obviously not in the position that Maddison would have been playing. But thanks, Mark, for the transition. I want to talk to you a little bit about him, and because he's been, a little bit, hasn't been lighting it up as you would say to this point, but his last few performances have been really strong. In fact, I just want to give you a little bit of his stats. So he had all of his tackles, 2 blocks, 3 clearances, 1 headed clearance, 2 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries. Three of his 4 ground duels he won. One of his one aerial duels he won, and he was not dribbled past once.
So you say he won all of his tackles. Does it tell you how many tackles he was in?
It just says 100%. So no, I'm sure it's very few, probably just a couple. He had 1 successful dribble, which was the opening for the game, the opening goal, which was a great run. That was a powerful, great run up the field.
Yeah, he did, Jack. I thought people, every time they've seen Bergwall, he was good pre-season. Then in the league, I think, it's one of them. We're all hoping for a little bit more. I've not been overly impressed with him in all the other games. He came on against Rangers, and I'm like, he did all right.
Yeah, he did.
And I think people tend to go over the top because he's young. We all want to see him do well. He chose to come to Spurs. But I thought he was good on against Newcastle. I thought that was genuine. The praise was legitimate for him. He did well. I think I thought he did play. I think players run off his shoulder and play behind him a little bit too easy. I don't think he picks up. But he's 18. He's an 18-year-old kid, and that's the first time Saturday when I've watched him, and I was like, I think there's something there. Like before, I'm a little bit still unsure. I've seen players like this. They've come in and done all right, but I actually thought, there's a player here on Saturday. So chances are he'll probably start again tomorrow. So
well, there's a very strong chance he's going to start again tomorrow. But we'll get to that. There was a I can't remember now. I listened to View from the Lane just yesterday. And I'm trying to remember, they reminded me of it. Now I can't remember. There was a situation where, who was it? Was it Joe Linton or was it Bruno?
Joe Linton smashed him, didn't he?
Was it Joe Linton smashed him? And a few minutes later, he came right back into him and took it. Yeah. And that told me a lot. I mean, because he's actually, what people don't realize is he's actually pretty big. He's a good-sized lad.
And he was mixing it, wasn't he, with them? And
he really was.
We were talking about Newcastle's midfield, and that's a good sign, isn't it? Because sometimes you see players and you think, he needs to put it about a bit more. But he looks like he's going to have that about. Still not sure which role in a midfield he's going to take up. Obviously, it's going to be tougher over here than it was over in Sweden. But,
quite a bit.
But he's got room to grow, hasn't he? Time to play. But, and like I said, he looked decent. So
I really think he did. I'm really pleased. I'd said at the beginning of the year I thought that he could displace Madison in the midfield, although I was thinking he'd be playing higher up. It seems that he's got more opportunities at the 6-8 type of role and building out. And, I don't even think the goal, you could make the argument, he made the error making the pass, but I think that the pass he received from Sarr was unnecessary to put him under that pressure to begin with. But I think it was a really good performance. I'm really pleased for him. And I think the other thing I liked was watching Archie Gray, who, playing after basically getting out of bed, having not trained, putting in 90 minutes seemed pretty unflappable. He was also not dribbled past one time in the game, and he's playing some pretty good forwards.
Yeah. I think I've always said I work with a kid who's a Leeds fan, and he was really big in Gray when we signed him. So, but I was like, well, it's a different kettle of fish now, coming to the Premier League and playing. And he wasn't playing many minutes, was he, at the start of the season? We all sort of wanted to see him, and he's playing left back, he's playing right back. No, he's doing a really good job at centre back. When I look at him, I'd say he is in front, not on his physical attributes, like is winning aerial duels and stuff. But I'd probably have him in front of Dragusin. I don't know what you think about that. I just think he's so good on the ball. He doesn't really shirk a tackle yet. He loses players now and then, but like we said, he's young and it's not his position. But
I think I'm sure he isn't in the manager's mind at this point. I mean, and Radu had a terrible game, but as we all know, he came off at halftime because he was sick. But I mean, there's no question that Radu will have to make amazing progress on his ability on the ball to catch up to where Archie is right now, and Archie's going to get better.
Yeah.
So, and the one thing that Radu has for him obviously is size and aerial ability and a threat. And Radu has had a few games where he's not finding the net, but he's starting to get in on those corners and get his head on the ball towards goal. And I don't know that Archie's quite there yet, but I would say it's kind of horses or courses. I could see games where you need a ball playing center back. Yeah, because you're going to have the ball in their end the entire time versus when you're playing, Liverpool, where you're going to have to defend a lot more. I could see them having that situation where they might be played independently. I mean, depending on who your opponent is.
Well, that's game state, isn't it, Jack? Because there's times where sometimes you might want to play your football, but you're 1-0 up or 2-1 up or 3-1 up or something, and the other team's just got so much of the ball. They're dishing it in the box or whatever, and you've just got to defend the box. Dragusin's perfect for that. I mean, for Ange Ball, he is a terrible fit, isn't he? But we're not going to get into all the who makes the signings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm really afraid that Radu is the Romanian Joe Rodon.
But I think Dragusin, I don't think he is terrible. I think he's good at what he is good at, and bringing the ball out from the back is not a strength on it.
Not yet
at all.
Can he learn it? I don't know.
For a team and a coach that supposedly you need to play out from the back, how the fuck did we end up with him? But that's the story for another day.
It's a good question. It's again, there's a lot of things, you and I are probably on the opposite sides of the fence with this current manager, but I think we can both agree there's some very questionable signing. No. You have to question the Werner signing. You have to question the Radu signing if he doesn't start to show better ability on the ball and better delivery. So I would agree with that.
But the Dragusin is the fit. When we question the Dragusin signing, it's the fit. Maybe Ange might eventually do it, or if you add somebody else, they might say, well, I'm going to need him in certain games, like you said, Jack, or at certain times in games. And there'll be certain games where I don't need the players to be. We'll be playing against lesser teams, so I don't need my defenders to be as good on the ball. The Werner one is obviously just the fact that he's pretty fucking pony.
Right.
Why do we sign? What about signing him? Isn't it? So
yeah.
And I suppose we could go on and on, but we're not going to get into that.
We could. Yeah. We definitely won't, because again, that's another conversation that goes on and on. But I will mention one thing about to close the discussion on Archie Gray. My favorite moment of his performance was when he walked up to Ishak and said, "Get off the field."
Well,
I
Oh,
love
he
it.
is.
That's a great move for an 18-year-old walking up to a senior player, one of the best forwards in the Premier League, and saying, "Get off the pitch.
Yeah,
Get off the pitch, bitch."
and when Fraser Forster had that stinker against Man United,
Yeah.
he was straight up to him after the game, wasn't he? I shouldn't have passed it back. That's down up. That's my fault. I'm sorry I did that. He's got. There's so much potential there. I hope we don't waste it. I hope we don't waste.
I'm with you on that.
I still don't know what his position's going to be. Is he going to just continue all his career to be a utility player? I don't know, but we've got.
And I'll tell you, if he developed into a James Milner type player,
brilliant. Yeah. Happy days.
No kidding, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. Like people say, master of all trades, Jack of all trades, master of none. That's it, mate. but you do need those players, don't you? You do need those players. So
yeah, no doubt.
Fingers crossed for him.
Yeah, so let's conclude that there's one other player on the Newcastle match you want to talk about, and it's relevant to the game tomorrow, and that is the man of the match that Sky awarded the man of the match to Brandon Austin, which any Spurs fan has to chuckle because that means he joined a very elite group of players, of academy players, who makes their starting debut and gets the man of the match. Kyle Walker-Peters, I think, up at Newcastle, first game of the year, and then Tanganga, I think, the start at Liverpool, maybe. I'm not sure, but I know
it was Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Under Mourinho, wasn't it?
Yeah. So both of them got man of the match and were almost never heard from again. Yeah. And that probably is the case with Austin, too. We may never see him again.
He did all right, didn't he, Austin? He looked quite comfortable on the ball.
He did.
Certainly a lot better than I thought he was going to be.
His distribution was really good.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, to me, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what I saw from Brandon. Unless he was improvising, there was a tactical adjustment. We didn't build out. We didn't build out every time. We went long on both goal kicks and distribution. When I say long, up towards midfield. Many times, which I've always been screaming. I'm a big fan of building out, but if you do it every time, you got to mix it up. You've got to show different looks.
But is that down on just how the game was panning out and we chose to do that, or do you think he may have been given a little bit more license to do that?
Maybe,
because you wouldn't they've got Dan Burn at centre back. Dan Burn, and who was the other centre back?
Botman came back for the first time in forever.
Botman came back. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
Joe Linton. They got some big guys. So and I know Solanke's pretty decent in the air, but I wouldn't have thought the tactic would have been to go a bit longer. I mean, it worked in our favour when some of those headers that Solanke had. He obviously scored one, and then he had the one that went just over, and the keeper saved one towards the end. Good crosses, but we were getting chances from them, don't we? And sometimes we struggled to make chances. So I wonder if they just thought this is how the game's going, but this is what we're going to do. Or I wonder if Ange did say, get some balls in the box and get it up and lump it long.
Well, we definitely haven't given enough aerial service to Solanke, and that has a lot to do with the fact that we have Udogie, who doesn't send that ball.
No.
Son, who doesn't really send that ball. Johnson, who doesn't really send that ball. The only person who sends that ball is Porro.
Oh, he is the only one.
Yeah. And that's been a frustration for me as a fan, as well as an owner in fantasy of Solanke, that he hasn't gotten more balls in the air to go after, because the one he attacked for the first goal was brilliant. The way he got around Botman was fantastic.
He scored some cracking headers when he was at Bournemouth as well. So yeah. I'm not sure if it was a tactic that was, that they'd been working on and sent out there to do, but maybe we'll see tomorrow, Jack. Maybe we'll do. Mind you, they'll have Van Dijk, won't they? So he's also a fucking animal in the box. But
yes, he is. So before we get on to Liverpool, let's just talk a little bit about, we have some. We're starting to do this a little bit more, and I'm actually a big fan of this, and which is signings that you didn't hear about, know about, rumored, and just show up one day in your feed to say, we signed who? Now, I'd love for that to be someone that we've heard of, as opposed to someone that you have to Danny Rose. But it would be. But as I looked into this kid, so you've got this player. What's his name?
Kinski, isn't it?
Kinski.
Antonin Kinski.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. He's a top save percentage in all of Europe. Granted, he's playing in Czechia at 83%, but he's also the highest, he's most accurate long ball goalkeeper in all of Europe, which I think is great. I've seen plenty of examples of him taking the ball at his feet, dribbling, and actually he's not, I don't know if this is good or bad, but he's not afraid to do a cutback on a forward, to beat him. He's very confident with his feet. He's a big boy. He's got a physical, nice physique. And he looks like it sounds from what I'm, if you listen to the Alistair Golds of the world and the Jack Pitt Brooks and all that sort of stuff, he's brought in, they're being told he's been brought in to challenge Vicario, not just as an automatic young player, as an understudy, but someone they think should be challenging Vicario for starting position.
Well, if he doesn't play tomorrow, he will be. He should be playing. If that's the case, then he should be playing every other game, didn't he? Because if he's turning up and that's what he's been told or he's been led to believe, then you'll be saying Vicario's out. If that's the case, the shirt's mine until I do something to lose it, or Vicario comes back and wins it back off me. But I mean, he's a very same as you, Jack. I listen to a few different podcasts and stuff like that. It's a very data-driven signing, isn't it? So
there's no question.
Yeah,
it screams data-driven.
Yeah, I've seen some of the, like you said about him being confident, mate. If you're gonna try and take players on, and you're gonna pass out from the back, the first thing you need that keeper to be confident at doing that. So tick there.
Yep.
Big lad. Premier League's a physical league.
You got to be great in the air. That was one thing that Brandon was great at. Was he won the balls in the air that we've struggled with under Vicario and Hugo, quite frankly.
I actually think that Forster, apart from obviously he had the stinkers against Man United, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Then he passed that one out to Salah that he got away with. I think he's actually done better than most people thought. I think he's been pretty decent. Yeah. But if this kid is coming to do that and he's the future, Forster is however old he is now and he can be around the keepers, then, we're happy with that, aren't we? We've been saying we need a decent backup. So hopefully this guy can be it. But the fact that they think he's going to challenge Vicario is a positive, isn't it? But
yeah, I mean, just remember, Emi Martinez was third choice goalkeeper at Arsenal at one point.
Yeah. Screaming to get away because he needed first team football. So somebody gets injured.
Yep. Yeah, so he got his opportunity from an injury, and so I hope Brendan Austin is able to use this one appearance that was clearly quite good, and hopefully that gets him some attention and maybe a move, because maybe he wants to be third choice at Tottenham it's not a bad job if you want to think about it. Third place goalkeeper. If you're really just interested in being around the game and making a lot of money but not have a lot of pressure, it's not a bad gig.
Mate, it's a fantastic job, isn't it, to be a third keeper that never plays, take home a good wage. You never get anybody slagging you off because you never make any mistakes. So he might be thinking now, oh God, I don't know if I want this. But But
the fact that he learned about Kinski's signing, when he was the day he was getting his first start, he didn't shrink. He stood up and was counted. So I think that's great mental fortitude for him.
What you got to look at is we've got the two younger lads out on loan, haven't we? Who people think are decent keepers.
Both Gunter and Keeley are doing really well from what I read.
So Forster's contract's gone at the end of the season. The other two come in. So, but the only thing is the homegrown quota, isn't it? I don't understand all that stuff. I don't get involved in that. In our chat groups, I let, like HG and John and people like that go through all that type of nonsense. So, it's not my thing. So I don't know. But the goalkeeping situation, hopefully next season will look a lot better than it did at the start of this season.
Yeah, it might be pretty deep. And maybe some currency if both if this Kinski kid works out between the end of the year, it gives them the ability to sell either Gunter or Keeley and get a little bit of cash in.
Yeah, or they hang around and we get rid of Whiteman, maybe Austin,
which you should. Both of them should move on, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, but that's up to them. So the next big target, so we don't have any, and that's the one signing. Of course, we've got the Korean kid Yang that's in the fold. He's already training with the first team. So then the big name, of course, that we've been clearly linked with. I mean, they're not just like third, fourth, 10th tier sources, but like first tier sources. The Athletic is that the situation at PSG with Muani. Now it's also, of course, that type of player and that type of profile is going to get the attention of the Uniteds and the Juves and all that sort of stuff, which tells me that that's not the type of situation that Tottenham wins, even if we want them. We don't use now. Granted, Berival chose us over Barcelona, and Bayern Munich lost Radu Dragusin to us. But generally speaking, we don't generally win these transfer battles. But who knows? It depends on who's offering the most minutes, and maybe, who knows? He's certainly a profile of a player that can play across all three positions in the front line. He can play striker, but he could also be a dribbly winger to get the ball across, and that's something that we definitely miss. So I'm just not sure that we should get too much of our hopes on him choosing Spurs. If he could go play for Amarin, or he could go to Turin to play at Juve. I just don't know if that's the type of player we get.
It'll come down, won't it? Because like basically us in Man United are pretty in similar situations in the league. So it'll probably come down to, won't it, who agrees or offers to pay more of his wage from PSG, or if any at all. And possibly playing time, because there's talk of Juventus as well, isn't there? Now, there's loads of different scenarios, isn't there? Like Xerxes, they're talking about going to Juventus because they need someone, which if he goes there, then you could see Man United saying, well, come here because you'll be arguably first choice. Where at Spurs, you look at it and say, Solanke's first choice, but if this guy can play anywhere across the front three, or just Spurs are pretty good. They are quite good at, like, lately, of sort of going in for somebody and then it gets done pretty quick, didn't it? Like when we went for Solanke, it came out that we were going for Solanke, and then within the weekend it was done. You said about the keeper, we did that.
Yeah, very. Yep.
The longer this drags on, the more concerned I'll get, because I think we'll probably be looking at other targets that will be more financially doable for Spurs.
Oh, well, so let's talk about financially doable. You mentioned one of them earlier. So we clearly need depth at left and right back, right?
Yeah.
So there have been some names. One interesting name is Semedo is 6 months. He's leaving Wolves.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of him. I realize he may not be the best defensive player, but in a wingback system, which is not close, but it's at least he is comfortable going forward and in possession. Yeah. He's out of contract in the summer. And there's also a guy at Ajax. I could mispronounce this, but Jarell Hato is another player that's been linked with us, as well as the other side of the Wolves formation you mentioned earlier, Aït-Nouri. He's an interesting situation as well. Those are all players that I could see making an easy transition to this system.
Yeah, I mean, it is that, Jack. But what you've got, I mean, if they're a free, I'm still not sure Spurs will pay the big bucks. It'll always come down to who offers the more wages. And if, like, say someone like Aït-Nouri, then if you're going between Spurs and Man United,
you're going to get more money.
Man United are the bigger club, but footballers now are probably going to go for the bigger money, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's the biggest frustration that everyone. And I mean, I'm not an Enoch out person. I'm not exactly Enoch in. I just say that owners are owners, and the devil sometimes is better than the devil that you don't. But and I think Man United fans might be starting to figure that out. But at the same time, it's like
wages.
It's what we are the lowest wage to turnover in the league. We were 6 in wages when we had Harry and Hugo and Dyer and some of them still on the payroll. We're probably going to drop to 7th or 8th. But the bigger thing is wages to turnover. I mean, in the 35-40% range. I mean, the accounts for 23-24 are not out, but I mean, we just don't. pay the wages, and they're all incentive laden, they're all bonus wages and that sort of stuff. But pure guaranteed salary is just not competitive with the teams that we're trying to dislodge in that top 4, top 5 type of place.
Well, I put that little video on our group. I think it was last night. But that guy from the Guardian, and he wasn't really ripping into Spurs, but he was just saying, "Look, that is the wages the correlation is the more wage, the higher wage bill you pay. Like you said, the better you do in the league. That's sort of how it works. People can explain that a lot better than me, but that's how it works." And then they said, like, Chelsea got Neto.
Yeah.
There was Arsenal got Havertz, and I think they said another team that got, somebody who's contributing. They said and when Arsenal Trossard, wasn't it? And Spurs got Danjuma, Solomon.
Yeah.
Danjuma, Solomon, and Werner. And this is guys just said they try and do these things on the cheap. And I'm not saying, but that's how it feels, isn't it? They might not think that, but that's how it feels. And you just look, like you said, Neto, Trossard would have been brilliant for Spurs at that time. I think we could. I think if we'd have really pushed for it, we could have got him on board. But we went and got Danjuma, who actually wasn't too bad a few times we played.
He's a decent player, but not going to change not going to change the direction of your season.
Solomon, Werner, and Danjuma. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? That's when any argument sort of falls flat on its ass, doesn't it? When you sort of compare, and that's just the way it is. So, like, with these players coming in, I don't know, mate. I'm never convinced that we'll get, the right people in now.
Well, people in. We have the right people in,
and that's hear you. No, hang on.
That's Dave. Well, we can hear you just fine, but as Dave sorts out his audio, just don't talk.
I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
As I said, bringing the right people in, and then we have technology problems. But anyway,
begs to come in, and then Glenn literally ain't got all his setup ready. I want professional.
That's why you have to make a lot of give a lot of room to operate for those down under.
Yeah. Anyway,
how you thinking, Dave? Do you hear anything? No,
he's having a nightmare.
Yeah,
put him on the bench again, mate, if he can.
So what we want. So let me ask you a couple other questions. What would your feeling would be is we have a center back issue. We have a center back issue.
Yeah.
We have 2 potentially exceptionally good center backs down in the system, right? Who aren't really going to be ready for prime time for a couple of years. I don't care what you think of Phillips and what you think about Vuskovic as far as how good they are right now. They're probably not exactly ready to step in and play a lot of minutes in crucial games. So what the question I have is it better to fill that gap with just loans, or do you find maybe 1 or 2 experienced center backs who might be able to sign, a 2 or 3 year deal and bring them in, or just trying to fill up the gap with loans?
Well, if you look at you've got, so how many centre backs do you need, really? I mean,
really, we need about 7.
We do at the minute, but you look at it, you got Romero,
4 or 5
at the minute. We've got Romero, we got Van der Ven. Even though we're not all massive fans of Dragusin, we've got him at the minute, haven't we?
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, I think Ben Davies, when he's fit, can do a job. I'm not putting him as our 4th choice, but what I'm saying is he can do a job. So if we get another one in, if we get one more in, that's your 4. Then I look at your Ben Davies, your Archie Grays who can play there. That's 6. We shouldn't be having the problem.
Jed Spence in a pinch.
Yeah, at a pinch, yeah. But then you've got your Vuskovic. Then I'm looking at Vuskovic, who looks like a decent player in the.
He looks fantastic.
In the Belgian league, so he should be getting game time. If he's, that's 7. Even if you take Ben Davies away or Archie Gray, and he's 6th choice. I mean, you want rotation, really. You don't want to be saying, but he should be able to come in, mate, and he should fit. And I only think we maybe need to get one more.
Hello.
One more who's
yes.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can. I think what we actually need is one more center back that is in the league with Romero and Van de Ven.
Yeah.
That's where we have to shop for a permanent signing where you spend big money and you pay the wages.
We're not going to do
one more of those, and then you can Then you can use Dragusin and Ben Davies and Archie Gray and eventually Phillips next year and maybe Vuskovic 2 years from now. And I don't know what's going to happen to Dorrington, but clearly is that because Romero we get him for the rest of this year. We might lose him in the summer, maybe not, but I would say more than likely. So if we're not targeting someone to replace Romero and I would say even almost 2 senior center backs, just depends on how you feel about Radu and Ben Davies. I'd like to see them pretty far down the pecking order.
Romero isn't, or Van de Ven, I don't think are on massive wages. I think it will be like when we got Romero, he was sort of up and coming, wasn't he? His stock's risen since, even though Atalanta are a good club, his stock's risen since he's come to Spurs, and obviously Argentina have had their successes. Van de Ven's come in. He's not on massive wages, so we're not going to sign a top centre-back to come in at that level on big wages. It's going to be a similar scenario, like the guy they're talking about from France. The guy
I'm pronounce it.
I can't pronounce it, but that's what you're looking at. But right. Now other teams are looking at him. Apparently,
what about Tamori from AC? Who was at Chelsea?
Whenever I've seen him play, he's been shit. Answering them. I'm not joking. He might be good. Every time I've seen him play, he's been poor.
Right,
but you know.
And that's the end of that idea.
No, I said what I'd really like to do, what I'd really like us to do, and I think, Dave, you might have been in the comments or on the show, I might have even been on with Jack. Gay at Crystal Palace. I think he's got brilliant attitude.
Yes.
He's got good leadership qualities.
Yes.
He is a good centre-back.
Yeah.
He's reliable. That's what I would do. And I would be saying, look, if Romero goes, he's looking at, he might look at going in the future. This is the guy. We can get this guy in, homegrown, English centre-back, captain material. That's what I'd be looking at. But I don't think you got a chance with the sorts of teams that look at him.
I remember you saying it. I remember being on the show, and I remember saying, not a chance.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, No.
I agree with you. There isn't a chance, but there could have been at one point. But
I think you're right, and that's the reason why I'm asking the question: is do you just find some experienced players that you can get in on loan, that you can fill the gaps to see whether or not Phillips and Vuskovic are going to be, the two that you're going to be playing in the 25-26 or 26-27 season. And I think, because Ben Davies is only going to give you another year at best as a fourth, fifth option. Archie Gray, maybe actually center back, could end up being in position, or is he, I don't know. It's too soon to say, but I mean, I would prefer not to see him play center back.
Yeah.
But that's my thinking, is that we just use the loan market to fill the gap for these two kids and see if Mickey can figure out his hamstring issue, or if he's going to be a permanent, he's going to turn into Sessegnon.
Yeah, but Mickey's got the hamstring issue. I believe he's never had the hamstring issue before. His injury record.
No, he had one. He had one before we signed him.
Okay, so if you keep playing a very high line and getting him to chase it back, he's going to do his hammy. As for Romero, I don't care about Romero. He's got in the summer, he's got 2 years to go. So is he going to sign a new contract? I doubt it. And he's a lot better than he actually thinks he is. So if we got 70 or 80 million for him,
he thinks he's better than Messi thinks he is.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah. But Messi thinks Lo Celso is a good player. So, at the end of the day, if we get 70 or 80 million for Romero in the summer, then I'd grab that, and I'd buy 1 or 2 centre halves. Good to go centre halves. Cooler, you weren't watching the show, right? I made out that Cooler was slagging off Archie Gray at centre back. He didn't like that. But I think
slagging off the performance or slagging off the idea that he plays there.
Well, he was slagging off the performance, but he wasn't really. I was just winding him up,
right,
as I can do. But I think at the end of the day, what for this window now, right? He's obviously got the goalkeeper in, which I was amused to read on Twitter the other day that he's apparently he's the next Peter Cech because he's a young keeper from the same country as Peter Cech. There you go. Yeah, brilliant. And
doesn't he come from? Doesn't he come? But as well, Dave, I think there's like some sort of coaching group or something. He comes from this sort of like line of good keepers that have come through there, which Peter Cech did as well. So that they're looking at it like that.
Yeah, he's been groomed, from what I understand, from a very young age to get to this point.
Yeah,
right. Okay, that's an unfortunate phrase, but anyway. But I mean, if you can name me the long line of other Czech goalkeepers over the years, then I'm happy to hear that list.
Yeah.
No.
But so he, I felt a bit sorry for old Brandon. I know you covered it. I felt a bit sorry for him. This is his first. I honestly thought and I know you just covered it, Brandon did well actually, because I thought it'd be like kind of a jelly in goal who can't actually catch the ball or anything like that. There must have been a reason that he hasn't played in 6 years once. But I thought he did really well actually. I thought he did very well. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for this period now, I think if we got loans in, I wouldn't have a problem with that. As long as they're not Gedson Fernandez. And we need.
What about your favorite left-footed French center back? Never mind. We'll move on.
Longley. I was playing with my son at FIFA the other night. I think he's at Atletico, and I said, he's not. I was playing him at FIFA. Oh, look, there's Longley. I didn't put him in my team. That would have made any difference.
A final word on it though, Jack. I think if you get a loan in, that's just got to be to see us through the end of the season, because we sort of need. Yeah, we need some people in.
Need bodies.
Because I totally agree. I actually do like Romero. I think he is. I think he is a quality player. I think he is. Obviously, he's. He has brain farts, and he now and then, and he loses the plot. But
I think he's been rubbish this season.
Yeah, I think he's barely played really now, hasn't he?
Well, when he has played, I understand.
Yeah, he wasn't great, but I think he is. I think. Overall, he's a really good player. But
I'd rather him play than all the other options. I don't care what do you think about his performances. I'd play him over Archie Gray. I'd play him over Radu Dragic.
Yeah,
so definitely. He is what we have. So he plays if he's healthy.
But I agree. I don't think he's here. I don't think he's here for the long term. And I think you've got to be know in your mind what you're going to do. Yep. And if you can get that body in now, get him in. But if you can't, obviously, you just get someone in on loan, because Andrew's already said, hasn't he, doesn't want to we got to get the right people in. We just don't want bodies. So we'll see, won't we? But we need defensive reinforcements in this window anyway. So
yeah. And the question is that the question is whether we're buying players now if the manager's going to be there at the start of next season as well.
Well, if they're loans, it don't matter, does it?
And I know that, but that's what I'm saying. That I think that there is a lack of permanent signings. Shows you that he might not be around.
That's a good point. That's a good point. If we do see a bunch of loans, then they're basically waiting to see where we finish the end of the year before they decide on whether they keep them. But I promised Gibbo that we would not get into a detailed Ange in, Ange out fight. So so to save everyone, I think for timing purposes, before we get too far past the hour, we need to.
So we're not, just to be clear, we're not going to do Ange in, Ange out. We won't do in or out. Any other in or out?
No, because we had too much on my run sheet. We said we could end up speaking about it all day long. But the reason we were planning on doing an Ange in, Ange out, that was the original intention of the show. But then the report from Ornstein comes out, says that the board is 100% behind the manager, which sometimes means he's getting ready to get canned. But because that came out, we said, okay, well, let's just push that aside since we now have a semifinal to talk about, which is really what we need to turn to.
Can I just quickly say something about the players? Like the whole point of a director of football and that approach that Spurs are meant to be taking is that we sign players that are the manager has obviously is part of the combo, but we look for players, the whole scouting team, So we provide players for a squad, and we have this vision of what we're going to be. So when we do recruit a new manager, whether Ange decides to leave or whether he gets the sack, then a new manager comes in, and those players pretty much fit his philosophy as well. So
because we've always had that with all the directors of football that have had. We've played Ajax. We've played Ajax total football now for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, and I think we could spend a couple minutes on it. Which is, I meant to make this point earlier. So here we are in a situation where we have left back of Reggie. We've got a center back pairing of Spence and Gray. Poro's our right back, and Brandon Austin is our center back. We got a holding-ish midfielder in an 18-year-old Swede making one of his first. Was that his first Premier League start? Anyway, if you would now think about going back to the beginning of the season, just imagine that you're told, I promise you, I've come from the future, and there's going to be a Premier League game where that's your back five. Okay, just think about that for a minute, and that is I can't even get my head around it. But yet we still are. The team is still trying to play the system, and in fact, even before the subs came on, we were the better team against Newcastle, and it wasn't even close in that second half.
Can I throw you another coming from the future? You've come from the future, and you've told me that on our left side in the second half, we would have Reguilon and Timo Werner. Yeah,
well, exactly. That's my point. And I think this goes to your point, Gibbo. If we had a properly run football operation and philosophy, right, then you're right. It doesn't matter that you're going to fire the manager because you're going to hire someone who's going to play a similar style. So you recruit that player. Your scouts get to know what they're supposed to be looking for. Your data team knows what they're looking for. The coaching staff, the support staff, they all know what they're looking for. And the
canteen knows what we're looking for.
Because the first 12 months, the first 3 windows is nothing but deconstructing the squad to build it back to where you want. And that is pointless. It is absolutely pointless. So maybe they learned something from the previous 2 managers to say, don't hire the name, don't hire what you think is right for right now. Stay with the program, stay with the system. The philosophy of this club is supposed to be a daring, attacking style of football. So don't hire a manager that doesn't play that. Yeah,
and then maybe what happens is, say if Ange does get the bullet, then a new guy comes in, but he may have he's got the same footballing philosophy, but he does it a little bit differently, and hopefully I don't want to be had a go at here. I'm not digging at Ange. I'm just saying if he was to go, and then this guy comes in and go, I do play attacking football, but I can also get my defenders to defend. I can get the team to defend as a team when we need to, but I also can get us to attack as a team and fill in all the little gaps. And I think I can do it better than Ange, and that's why you get in a new manager to do that, isn't it? But they ultimately they can use the same players. They don't have to have like great big meatheads at the back who just head every ball away and a 6'5" striker that we're booming the ball up to. They can use those sorts of players, but maybe they might do it a bit differently.
Yep.
Yeah, but I know that any coach who comes in, right, he's going to get on with certain players. He's not going to get on with certain players, and he will want to bring in some of his own players. Yeah,
but I think, and just to finish on Jack's point, the players haven't given up on Ange.
No,
when that happened so they haven't given up on Ange. But there will be players there that don't really like him or aren't that keen on him, and there will be players there he's not that keen on. But as a squad, they're all buying in and they're doing what they need to do. So that happens with anyone. It's just, I suppose, at the minute, I think it's probably a testament to his man management and how he is. But no manager. Every club knows that they're not just going to. Not many managers coming in. Every single player loves them.
No. Harry Redknapp loved Nico Cranchar wherever he went.
Yeah,
brought him in.
Yeah,
and so as we turn to tomorrow's match,
yes,
we know who awaits us in the final. Probably, no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, Newcastle's up 2-0 they won the first leg 2-0
at the Emirates.
That would be correct. So the reality is that it's likely that you're facing Newcastle. No guarantee, but you're likely facing Newcastle in the final. And I don't know if Arsenal, Newcastle, whatever. But I would say that tomorrow's match is interesting because you already have Matters and Sarr who are suspended, so you can throw them off the lineup.
Yes,
we know who the back
is. Bentancur suspended?
No,
no.
Oh, that's he normally
so
is.
Basically, the choices I see it is the only choice. I suspect we're going to see Son, Solanke, and Johnson up top.
Okay. I'm more interested in who you think is going to be in goal.
Well, the only decisions here are midfield. So you basically are going to have 3 of these 4 are going to start: Basuma, Bentancur, Decky, and Bergvall. Unless Decky goes up to right on the right wing, and that brings Bergvall in. And then the only other choice is who do you play at goalkeeper? And clearly there seems to be 3 possible choices: Forster, Austin, and Mr. Kinski. So Dave, you're the new person to the show tonight, and you're the manager for making your starting lineup. Who are you throwing in the net?
And I'm Australian as well, so
good point.
It suits, massive Australian. I'm going to go. I'm going to go conservative. You'll be surprised to hear. I'm going to have Forster in goal because I think it's a bit unfair on old Brandon, to shove him into a semi-final of the League Cup. I think it's a bit unfair on the new Peter Cech, who's just got off the plane, to shove him in the League Cup semi-final. So I'm going Forster in goal. Now, the other thing I want us all to bear in mind that the second leg is not for about another month. Right.
February 6th.
So we've got to think tactically here. So I listen to a View from the Lane as well. So it's almost in a way that we either want a 1-goal lead, a draw, but not get smashed. We want to go to Anfield with hope, right? Because in a month's time, what? What's so funny?
He couldn't contain the laugh. Go ahead.
Why?
Going to Liverpool with hope is what made him laugh. Go ahead.
Well, I was actually being serious.
I know you were, and Gibbo is serious.
I'm echoing a View from the Lane that I listened to yesterday, right? So it's a month's time, right?
Yep.
So what we want to do, we don't want to leave that first leg having got spanked 6-2 or anything like that, right? So a 1-0 lead, a draw, that's okay. Going up to Anfield, where our record there is awful.
Horrendous.
Not as bad as at the Emirates, I think, but it's pretty awful, right?
Ooh,
we did beat them. Remember when Klinsmann scored there, Dave, in the FA Cup under Jerry Francis?
I'm reading the Spurs in the 90s book at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting. I'm now about to read the 97-98 chapter. The 96-97 chapter, which is an awful season. But anyway, so I think you go Forster in goal, right? That's what you got to do. Now, what, as you're saying on your sentence, so that's my view. So, Gibbo, who are you going to stick in goal?
If this new kid is as good as they say he is, I'm playing, and he's there to challenge Vicario, and he's going to be the guy who's challenging him. I'm playing him.
You're like the person who wakes up on Christmas Day and goes, "We're going to today for Christmas lunch, we're going to try something new for the first time."
No, I don't.
Yes,
very traditional.
Yeah.
I'm very traditional. But I'd play the new guy, or I'd just play the matey who played the weekend because he did okay. I mean, we lost, so we let 2 goals in.
So you've discarded Forster, have you?
Well, he hasn't played for a bit, has he? The guy in goal.
He's been sick for a week.
Yeah, but he weren't in goal at the weekend. If this kid is as good as they say he is, if you bought a striker who was meant to be brilliant, and you had injuries, no, listen, and you had injury problems up front, would you play him or would you go, no, we'll play Llorente? Do you know what I mean?
I quite like Llorente. Bad analogy, right?
He's like a totem pole. But
I like Llorente. Now, if we bought a 28, 26, 27-year-old striker who's the dog's bollocks and has got experience of playing in this country, or, he's won stuff, yes, I would be banging him in. I wouldn't be putting Ricardo Rocha in. I'd be putting him in up top. But this is a 21-year-old kid. So, okay, so your goalie is Natasha Kinski. Mine's Forster. Jack.
I forgot about her. I forgot about Newcastle. Okay. It's a shame because I really wish we didn't have a choice. I wish it just everything had been, it was just, we knew it was going to be Forster because I didn't have to think about it. Because when I think about Forster, I shiver just because the ball at his feet, I can't enjoy myself watching. Then I think about Austin and I'm like, we're going to let some kid who just got his first start for the club then walk into a semifinal. That sounds crazy, but he performed pretty well. I'm not wild about how he played Gordon's shot. I'm not blaming him, but he kind of did a Hugo dive instead of getting down quickly. But and then I say, okay, well, this Kinski, I don't know anything about him. I've never seen him play. I have no idea whether he can do this. So for me, I would say, you know what, I'd probably play to make it easy. I'd say, Austin I don't think he did anything wrong to not keep his place. He's really good with his feet. His out balls were very good. I was impressed with his accuracy. And we're going to need someone who can pick a pass inside the 18 to break the press because they're coming for us.
They need to pick a pass and be able to pick the ball out the back of the net. There'll be. So
there's you go. Three people, three different goalkeepers. What's the opposite of an embarrassment of riches? An embarrassment of media? I don't know. Right?
No. There's no right or wrong answer for this, I don't think.
Yeah.
well, that's right because there's three. So, and then
what is the least bad option? And that's what that manager gets paid to decide. What's the least bad option?
Okay. Well, I think mine is the least bad option.
Oh yeah. Well, so Angelo was a little confused as to the dog's what. So you might need to translate the Midlands for us a little bit. I know what you meant.
Dog's bollocks.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite catch that.
If you're the dog's bollocks, you're good. I don't know why people say that. I don't know what they think about dog's bollocks that are so great, but
yeah, I'm not a big fan personally of dog's bollocks, but that is what it is. We don't have an equivalent phraseology for something that's good here. So yeah, I think
so the defense,
I assume we're going to see
the defense split pick itself.
I think it has to. I mean, you're going to have Poro at right back, Dragusin's going to be at right center, Gray will be at left center, and Spence will be at left back. I don't see any other option.
I thought Reguilon did all right when he came on. I thought he added balance.
Yeah, I tell you
that's fair. You're right.
I like Reguilon. Right,
you are right, but I don't want Reguilon playing Mo Salah.
Do you want
he swings the ball in better. He is, like we were saying earlier in the show. We only have one player who will give the service to Solanke that he needs. Well, if Reguilon's in there, he'll get it. We can get it from both sides.
Mate, Prime Maldini could be playing for Spurs and Mo Salah would still score against us. He just will.
Yeah, but we'd get Maldini on a pay-as-you-play age 37. That's what we do.
We need. I get what you're saying, Jack. I totally get that. But Spence is quicker, isn't he? But we've sort of got to do what's best for. I mean, I think he will play Spence, but I thought Reguilon was good. I thought he actually got round the outside of the player in front of him, and Udogie doesn't really do that, does he? And Spence is right-footed, so I think there's a case to play Reguilon.
How does Spence go against Salah? I know he got spanked 6-2 or whatever.
He played right back in that game, didn't he?
But I thought he got moved. I thought he got moved across at some point, or was it my imagination? Didn't Destiny?
He switched sides so many times.
Yeah.
He switched sides.
I mean, the advantage that Spence brings is that he's taller than Udogie. He's way taller than Reggie. So that crossing ball that they're trying to find the far post with, he has the opportunity to win that and get it over, as opposed to getting jumped over by other players like Reguilon would. So I would be astounded if Reguilon got a start. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I think I'd be absolutely astounded.
I like Reguilon because he posted on social media something along the lines of, "Look, Mum, I've just played a game of football."
After his first time coming back on.
Which I thought was brilliant. And he also got the crowd going as well. Yeah. And he also,
so because he's on social media and he does a good job there, and because he gets the crowd going, he should start a semifinal against Liverpool. I'm just checking off the criteria that we need.
Yeah, don't give me a data spreadsheet. That's what I'm going for.
I think Ange isn't going to set up a team I don't even think he's gonna. I don't think he'd pick someone to pay more mind to Salah. I just don't think that's his way. I think he's going to just play the team he thinks of ours that can attack and beat Liverpool.
Agreed.
That's the team. That's why I think he'll play Spence. And obviously, we need. Like I used to say about playing Man City, you need to ride your luck. You need to take your chances when they fall to you, and they're going to have the lion's share of possession and be better than you. And I think that's probably the same with Liverpool now. I think that's what we're going to have to do. I think we're just going to have to ride our luck. Maybe not bend over and pot our arse cheeks for them like we did at home.
I'm definitely clipping that up.
But do you know what I mean? I think that's how we're going to have to go at the game, because Ange isn't going to do any different, isn't he? He's not going to.
Why not? He's away in the Europa a couple of times on the counter, pragmatic. He can do it.
You know, he has done it in Europe.
You know, like going 1-0 up against a team and then them scoring out 2 minutes later, or getting back to 2-1 and then literally sending everybody flying upfield. We're not, you know.
I've never seen that. I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're on about. I've never seen that.
But we've just got to hope that our game plan work comes off, and that Liverpool have a bit of an off day, and our keeper, whoever we choose, has a really good game.
Well, we want Salah not to be playing, really. But I can't see that happening. I think there's more chance of resting that team in the second leg.
They've got Accrington
in the second leg, and that's
but hey, we got Tamworth. Thank you very much.
So, I mean, that's actually what I was bring back. The point is this should be viewed as a tactical. It is 2 legs, and you have to view it as 2 legs, and you have to realize that in a month, you know, we don't know if Liverpool's going to have a 3-point lead, a 2-point lead, a 9-point lead, and I hope that they have a 3-point lead. Just for the sole purpose of they are going to be more interested in the Champions League and the Premier League. They're not going to give a flying flip about the League Cup. Not that they're going to throw it, but they're going to would more likely rotate more heavily at Anfield, giving us at least a glimmer of a hope. But I would still say that the odds of us getting through this tie into the final is about a 1 in 10.
I think he'll play like Conor Bradley will play, but I think he'll go strong up top. Slobber's, whatever his name is, Slobber's didn't play at the weekend, did he? And he was a nightmare. He was a nightmare against us because he kept just running past the front 3 as well.
Yeah, we'll see him again.
I don't want him playing. But like McAllister looks on form. Diaz looks like he's fine. So I think they'll go pretty strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they will. But I think I would have, he's never going to do it. I'd have Spence at right back, Reggie at left back, Porro right up top, Kulu in the number 10, and then who have you got left? Bentancur and
Basuma and Bentancur.
Yeah, and then Sonny Solanke. Yeah, but he won't do
with
it.
Forster in goal.
Yeah, I'm going.
And honest, Dave, I would be perfectly. I mean, that won't happen, but I mean,
I've gone radical balls out, except for in goal. I've gone conservative in goal. Forster, and that's what I mean. Porro did this amazing thing on. Did you see it on the weekend? He put in about 3 or 4 good crosses. Did you see that? I thought my telly was on the blink.
What's a cross?
It's this thing that Perisic used to do, right? He used to put it in.
So the ball is out wide and it swings into the center of the box.
Yeah, I mean, I never got my badges, right? But if you buy a striker who's good in the air
and really tall,
it's quite a good idea to stick it on his head from time to time. Just saying.
Yeah. That's genius.
Thank you.
You don't need your badges, Dave.
But in all seriousness, if you had Porro and Reggie on opposite sides, you'd get balls swinging in. And quite frankly, Bentancur can attack it. You could have Solanke and Bentancur and Decky attacking that ball.
Let's just play the percentages. Go for set pieces. We got anyone who can throw a ball?
And how many yellow cards has Bentancur got in the League Cup yet? Because no doubt he'll get a yellow card in this leg.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, unfortunately.
No, yeah, but there we go. Austin should play in the cup, Matt. Angelo.
Yeah.
Well,
Angelo's with me.
Well, Angelo's a fellow Aussie. It would appear.
It would appear.
It would appear he's a fellow Aussie. Yeah.
So we've all. I don't think we've actually picked a team, have we? But did you, Dave, say which team you'd like to play?
Yeah, he picked it.
Well, I've picked a balls out team.
Let's go for the main the main topic, mate. Let's have a score prediction. Dave, go first.
Go ahead, Dave.
Can I go? All right, that's a bit hard. I would like us to win.
Who you'd like? You like?
Okay, I want to go to Anfield with hope in my heart.
Yeah,
so
therefore, you're a Spurs fan, mate.
I know that. So I'm going to go 2-2. 2-2. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my pick. Actually, that's the first thing that popped in my head was 2-2. I'm hoping and praying that the surprisingly competitive, hard-fought game between United and Liverpool, one day after ours, where they expended a lot of energy in a cold, wet environment, plus travel, has just taken just 5% off their ability tomorrow night's game and give us a shot at a draw. And I'll take 2-2 as well.
2-2. And then the semi-final at Anfield will be like the famous night at the Amsterdam Arena. And at the end of the game, Levy will run onto the pitch because he always appears on the pitch in troubled times. And he'll dive into the away end at Anfield and then they'll lift it up like that.
I think that Liverpool will change a few players because they had exactly what Jack said. And obviously we put all that effort in against Newcastle. I know it was a whole 24 hours before, but we put all that energy in. So I think we will score 2 goals. Unfortunately, I think Liverpool
scored 3 last time.
I think Liverpool will score 4.
4-2.
I think they'll beat us 4-2.
And then we go up there and we win 3-0.
If they go balls deep on us tomorrow,
yes.
Like Salah and Jota, if they really go for us, I know like Gray and that have been playing well, but I just can't see how we cope with them up front. I thought Newcastle, we played really well the second half, but they just sort of stopped, didn't they? You know, Gordon and Isak took their foot off the pedal. I mean, we probably made them a little bit, but Liverpool are relentless, absolutely relentless. They were all hated of drawing that game with Man United, and somebody will pay. And as usually, it will be us.
Oh, that's fair. I can't disagree with anything you just said.
I mean, it's lucky their coach is so shit. I'm pleased we didn't sign him up.
You should be. What you really mean is you're pleased that he didn't take the offer that was handed to him because he's clearly shit.
That's right, and I'm really pleased about that.
Yeah, I know you are.
Can I just ask you a quick off-topic question, Jack? Very quickly. Who's your basketball team in the States?
I don't have one. I don't.
I've got a Lakers top here.
Okay. Growing up, that was my team.
Okay, that's not mine. Obviously, it's a fashionable member of my family.
Yes,
he's into basketball.
I played on a baseball team called the Lakers, and then I found out there was a basketball team called the Lakers, so that made me a Lakers fan because that makes sense when you're 6.
Well, there's a Spurs in basketball.
Yeah.
But I was not a fan of the. Well, I was actually kind of a fan of the Spurs because I was a fan of some of their players. Some of them were local to me here, but that didn't make the connection. So.
And when did the San Antonio Spurs last win? It's the San Antonio Spurs.
San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah.
When did they last win a trophy?
I can't even ever remember.
10 to 15 years ago, at least.
So more recent than us. Good.
Oh yeah. And they've also got about 5 championships. League titles in the last 25 years, 30 years.
Zach's big into basketball. He likes basketball. His favorite team are Miami Heat. When we went to Florida on a holiday, we took him to watch Orlando Magic because that was the nearest one, and they actually played Miami Heat on that night, so we got to see them over in the States.
Right.
So he's a basketball fan, mate. So I don't think I've got one. Who's winning it? Who's winning? Or it was the Golden State Warriors.
You've obviously been at NASA on said holiday.
Oh no, mate! I just took my work clothes off. Still haven't took my work jumper off yet.
Oh, I see. That you work for NASA.
He's a contractor for NASA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gibbo works for NASA. Right. Who did you want in goal? The kid. Fine. You work for NASA. Done. Whatever you say, you're right. End of. I don't even know why we're having this. Don't even know why we're having this conversation. It's
been a mega busy day. I haven't had time to change my work clothes yet. So yeah.
All right. Well, it's late in the UK. Yeah. It's late-ish in the United States, and it's early-ish for you.
Mid-morning.
Yeah. So, but we're still going to close this out. Thanks to everyone who was watching. For those you watching the replay, please hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel to get notifications, to get more of this insightful commentary and crude jokes and definitions of what dogs bollocks are. And looking forward to tomorrow night, sort of. Looking forward to hopefully not seeing us get rinsed by the visitors, and always going to be hopeful. One more time, come on, you Spurs!
And Jin,
come on, you Spurs! Enoch in, Enoch. I love Levy.